Wow. Oh my goodness, it looks so different.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. We can beat out
It's so neat to see a new place that's winterized.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being out in the park walking around. Just, you know, being out there.
I've been doing a lot of places.
If I got to pick up litter, I'll pick up litter. Yeah.
You go like walking in the building.
I'm being
You periscoping?
That's how it's going at. I didn't realize they closed this in.
yeah, I mean not all at once. Yeah.
Yeah. We really have it. No, we had.
Yeah, have I ever told you about the Irish?
I know, I mean, even snow picture, you have snow picture too. Didn't stay. But I know last year we got snow and snow and snow and snow. We had, you know,
So that's nice.
snow and ice.
Oh, I don't have any pictures of it. I can't. That drop trailer up there has photographs. But, so our water park expansion last year, I know some of you have worked in here this past summer, but basically we took 3 acres, 3.5 acres, and expanded the water park and put in restroom, food building, and a big wave pool. So we left room in this area to put in kids. This is the kids area where we're starting to build right now, and we pretty much are using Holiday World kids area and just putting it here. We changed the colors of the slides to make it look not exactly copy, but and they know it, and they just said please at least change the colors of the slides. But it's going to be really great for kids. Basically our water park was way overloaded on busy hot days, and so we just really needed to spread out, and this will give the kids a very big area, a very fun area with a large 4,000 square spray deck in front of it, which you see in those areas where there's little fountains, you know, little structures that shoot water and they keep changing. And so for kids about, 2 years old to 5, 6 years old will be here. That's it.
They have water cannons and all that?
No, we from experience of other parks and other people who put in these structures, the ones that have the least amount of things that move will survive longer.
Oh yeah?
So we have many things that they're just jets. They don't really have moving parts. So we'll see. I mean, we can always change them and say no, this is too boring. We need to get some things where they can, play more, be active more. So, but what I wanted to show you was, I mean, this is just a pile of dirt, but if we walk down into the yellow building, where I can show you how the waves get made, which I think is really cool. So that's my plan. So, and then we'll go to the next spot after we look at how the waves get made. Parking lot. Well, actually, right here was a picnic shelter that looks just like one of these, exactly right here.
Yeah.
So this land has to come up because the slides are going to be about 8 feet high. So where we're walking right now is going to be a very big block. A big wall here. So we're trying to decide how to make it look kind of nice. I mean, like maybe ivy growing on it, or I don't know, a rock, a vase that is a
Wow, yeah.
So when the weather's nice, do you guys work 7 days a week?
Fish.
When the weather's nice, do they work 7 days a week?
They've been working 7 days a week,
Wow.
yeah. Because they're from out of town, so they don't work, they're just sitting in a hotel room. So
I suppose this weather's helped out.
it's been really good.
Yeah.
We were slow on getting the design done, so.
It looks so nice, a roller coaster could run through.
I know.
Are you trying to hit?
People ask me that though. Like that's not just like, are you gonna run rides there?
Who did the design?
Cars are probably off.
Pro Slide, they sell slides. Pro Slide is no slide manufacturer.
The design of
Yeah. But we had to get a full design, so all they sell is the slide. So they'll tell you how to install a slide, but they don't use it. Yeah. We had to find a guy. Yeah. So we finally finished our arch.
This is nice.
We wanted to get it for the summer, but we just put that up recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Basically, so this is a really big room for just a wave pool. It's bigger than it needs to be. But we also put in all the piping for the kids area last year, way ahead of time, so that it would be, we wouldn't have to dig it all up again and do it all over again. So, so this room down here is going to have about 8 more pumps down there than we already have, and see this piping above our heads here. There's going to be 6 more going that way to the filter, so it's going to be a big spaghetti factory in here, with noodles going everywhere.
How much water is this going to move?
Well, this is 465,000 gallons, and then the kids is only 50,000, but it's still a lot of water.
Yeah.
Then you have to blow the water backwards to blow the dirt out,
Okay.
and you waste all this water. It's called regenerative, and it's like a white powder filter material that is, if you look in that little window glass you can see there, inside the filter, there's a little porthole kind of on the blue, and on any of these filters. You see all these tubes hanging down in there, and the water goes through the tubes, but all that white powder gets sucked and adheres to the tubes, and then every day you stop the filter and you just shake them up here with air, and you shake them, and all the water crap just falls to the bottom, and then you start it up again, and it all just adheres again. So in other words, you're changing the surface area of the filter every day, and so that you don't have to drain.
You're not wasting water.
You don't have to blow out. You just keep air gets blowing down in here, and then there's a valve right here, a big butterfly valve, and there's another one inside here matching it. So this one's open right now, this one's closed. So right now, if it was on, the air wouldn't go in the hole, right? But then the computer says, okay, open up, blow some water in there. This one closes, and this one opens, so it forces air down into the water. Just all it's doing is pushing air on top of the surface area of the water. The floor of the walls and the ceiling is a 12-inch thick concrete, so if we ever have a hurricane or something comes there, I'm going to be in here. Very safe. And it was to simulate the ocean for movies. So if you ever saw the movie Life of Pi, and they're in the ocean scene, that's a big pool that this company made, and they just put this kind of wave equipment in and made the waves.
You kidding?
That's cool.
Oh my God.
So what's the guy's name? Lee or something? Not Spike Lee, but I don't know his name. Whoever made that movie, he spent $2 million to make this pool for just the movie, and then now I guess other movies can go there and make their ocean scenes,
Wow.
But I think that's really
That's
cool.
amazing.
Approved, like regulations. See this big white tank here? That's where we store our chlorine. Okay, the guy comes with a truck and fills it up, 1,200 gallons of chlorine.
Wow.
And so this tank is regulated by Pennsylvania Department of
Agriculture?
DEP. Yeah. So Environmental Protection. Department of Environmental Protection. So I thought I could just buy a tank off the internet and say, oh, just put it in. It's a tank.
No.
I knew I had to get it regulated, but I thought all I do is pay the $25 and well, no, because I'm not an installer. I'm not a qualified installer. You take it off the truck and you drop it in this piece. I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. Can you? So we had to make this tank in case this has a leak. It won't spill out everywhere and damage. That's fine. That's fine. But this guy had to come here to say that we did it right. He was so mad. He said, "You did that without me there? Oh my gosh! You took it off the truck and put it in there? Oh my gosh!" But I had to pay him $500. There's not anyone near Erie. He has to come all the way down from like Pittsburgh or something. And see this hole? I added this hole so the guy could come with his hose and fill up the tank, right? Well, he said, I said, I'm going to put a hole here, okay? And he's like, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed. You're not a qualified hole putter in. I'm like, what? So he had to and he wasn't even qualified. So I had to wait for another guy to come for $800. He came up and said, oh, you want to put a hole in there?
Okay.
Well, where's your saw? I said, so he watched me drill this hole for $800 and then he left.
Don't attack each other.
but they probably wouldn't even expect it. I thought the sun, yeah, I thought the sun.
So we're gonna go underneath the station first. Kind of a little bit of walking and talking, just because there's a lot to see in this one and not so much time. So Ravine Flyer 2, built in 2008. They started planning for it in the early 1990s. Went through 3 manufacturers, starting with DIN Corporation, Custom Coasters, now Gravity Group. We're going to continue straight through here. As our legal battle to build this ride kind of went on, our manufacturers kind of phased in and out. As we're going through here, just make sure you watch your head. There's a few low things, and once we get on the side, it'll be a lot easier to walk through. Get all this form inside so I don't have to yell too loudly.
Everybody in.
Yeah, I see that.
So inside here, it's kind of a storage area / small maintenance shop. You can access some of the components in the station, such as the furnaces that lubricate the train or help lubricate the train when it's colder in the springtime. We also can access some of the brake components, not too much though. Mainly a storage area. Interesting fact is inside the parts in here, Gravity Group is only an engineering firm. They don't manufacture. So all of our parts mainly come from Great Coasters International. So surprise there, but they're a good supplier of track bolts and everything like that. So we're gonna keep moving through because I would like to get to the last part where we get to walk some of the track. So as you come out here, you can see some of the components of the transfer table. Pretty simple how it works, move side to side. We'll see how the trains are propelled once we get up top. Tires. What those do is when we're getting the train out of this storage shed, there's a down slope, slopes down, hits these drive tires, shoots up into the station. When it's cold out early in the season, when the trains aren't running quite as fast, or in April when it's still like 30 degrees here, it'll take 3 or 4 tries to get it all the way into the station so we can move the transfer table. Unfortunately, a lot of times Patrick, who you'll see in the shop, he will call everyone up and say, I need anyone who is available, and we're going to push the train in the station because we got to push it probably 3 or 4 feet back into the station. The train weighs 12,000 pounds, so it's not an easy push. Coming back into the into the storage shed, it just simply goes, uses gravity, goes all the way through. There's brakes that catch it before it goes out the back door in the back. You can go ahead and the next day, or if it's a busy week, you come after, you can get one train ready, another one ready the next morning. So inside here, you'll notice the track changes a little bit. The train, once it gets past basically the door, it rolls on its upstop wheels. That's so we can get underneath it. There's a catwalk on the ground down there, so Patrick can get up inside of it and look at anything underneath the train needs to inspect or adjust each morning.
That's why it's angle iron there instead of just a flat stock.
Where's that? Yeah, so it rolls on the upstops basically.
Keep it from sliding off.
This brake will catch it. A lot of times it catches the train a little too early, so we have a little winch system. We can pull the train forward because we won't be able to close the doors at night. If not, it's also easier to work on if the whole train's in here actually.
And on the other side, you can put new cars or take them off.
We'll see where they transfer the cars on and off actually. This is the spot we actually take the trains off and put them back on in the fall and spring. To take them off, we bring the train from the brake run. We just use the brakes manually and inch the train so we get in the right spot. They lift it off using a forklift and then take it back to the shop or the arcade. In the springtime, we send each individual car through the station with gravity and send it all the way into the shed, and that's where they connect them and put them back together again. So as you get up to the brake run, you're going to see some of the newer track. We did a fairly extensive retracking project this past fall. The reason we did it in the fall is just booking the company. That's the same company who refurbished Rampage. They built the Corkscrew and Hades 360. Names like goes by the guy who runs it, Louise. So they come in the last couple falls to do a lot of track work on the coaster. Some of the stuff we can do ourselves, but it's mainly small areas, touch-up work during the summertime. How a track goes bad, what happens is moisture gets trapped inside of it. The wood becomes kind of mushy, so that's when you get the bounciness, that's when you get the roughness on a wooden coaster. So when you replace it, it's all fresh again and more solid. An interesting thing Gravity Group does is they, when they're putting the boards down, they nail them down and they put a layer of special wood glue, put the next board on, nail it down, put more glue on. That just provides a better hold and reduces some of the movement that's very typical on wooden coasters. Interesting thing about the brakes I always find is with these brakes, when the ride is turned on, or even at night when we turn it off, right now it's just set because it's the off season, these brakes are always closed. What the air compressor does is it opens them up just to bring the train in smoothly, so it's not a hard stop, it's not going to be kind of painful. So the brakes are always closed. If we ever lost power or lost air pressure, these brakes are always closed. It'll just be more of an abrupt stop. But what the compressor does is just opens them up a little bit so we can bring the train in slowly as opposed to an abrupt stop. Or bring the train in more smoothly as opposed to an abrupt stop. Ravine Flyer 2 does have one trim brake, unfortunately, but the good part is it's that first brake on the brake run, so all it's meant to do is slow down the train. So I always laugh when I see the control panel because it says trim brake. I'm like, where'd that come from when I first started? But it's just the first brake on the brake run.
Not been to this park or are not familiar with Waldameer. 3.
You don't have to be ashamed.
Awesome. Yeah, please don't be ashamed. You're here now, so you can't say that anymore. I am Vice President of Operations, so I can answer every single question that you have. This is our arcade building. So this station we're going to do arcade and our dodging building, and we're going to pretty much show you how we store things in the winter.
Excellent.
This side of the arcade is what we call like redemption. So you get tickets when you play the games, as opposed to the other side, which is our video arcade. So you don't get tickets; you just play the games and have fun. If any of you who have been here, you kind of remember there's Evo on this side, roll down games on that side, covered in plastic. In the middle, there's a couple games that you can get tickets from. You know, stopping the light at the right time and things like that. Over the past maybe like decade, it's been a lot harder to find parts for some of these old ski ball and roll down games. And if you came last summer, it was kind of embarrassing. Probably half the roll down games didn't work because we can't find parts and we can't find someone who could fix them. So for next season, the people that operate our video arcade, so they bring in the games every summer and make sure it's fresh and new, they will be taking over the roll down area of the redemption part and putting a lot of new fun flashy games in there, so that there's working games there instead of non-working games. I'm doing winter maintenance on them. Since the weather's been so nice this winter and fall, we were actually able to keep the rides up a little bit longer and do a lot of work on the rides when they were still. Give me some gum. I need to walk you through it. We left a lot of rides up and did a lot of painting and waxing and clear coating. So a lot of these rides in here have already been worked on a little bit. The process is basically we take a few rides down from our storage spots to our maintenance building, which you'll go to next, and work on them and then bring them back and kind of trade them out throughout the whole winter. Or one spruce up the midway. They're made by Randolph Rose Company, and they're all handmade bronze statues. So really cool. Actually, cool fact: most of them he makes like standard, so he'll sell a lot. You know, a lot of the children playing on jungle gyms and things like that. He'll make a lot of those, and they'll be just in a catalog. But some of them he'll do custom things too. So in our north end, which has 3 rides down there, in 2011 we added 3 rides and wanted to develop that area. We wanted something cool for that area as far as a bronze statue, and we got that big, probably like 23-point deer back there. We told him we wanted to make him to make a white-tailed deer, so he made that custom for Waldameer. You won't see that anywhere else, I don't think. You'll see our orange and green Comet cars, which is our 1951 PTC coaster, which you passed on your right. And then
The namesake of our group.
Yes.
yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. Hop in those things.
Well, don't tell us that. We'll
Yeah. And then under the covers are the red train cars for the Reflyer 2, where you just were. You will see the blue train, which is not put together in the maintenance shop. So you'll be able to see one all torn apart and how we go about doing the maintenance on those. And then moving on here, we have some more statues. I think we have our Hampton umbrella ride back there. And we have some Steel Dragon spinning coaster bodies. So that's a marathon spinning coaster, which is super popular ride.
And your street sweeper.
Yep, and our street sweeper.
Very nice.
As we move up towards Dodgem, we're going to pass our admission booths, one set of our admission booths. For those of you who have been here, if you remember prior to last season, if you look back down that way towards the Marine Flyer, that between these 2 buildings here used to be 6 ticket booths, pretty much clogging up the whole midway, and that's how we sold all our passes and wristbands and tickets. Since then, we didn't want people to wait, hours to get into our park, which usually happen on Saturdays. So we more than doubled the amount of admission booths. So here's 8 admission booths, and then you'll see 8 more at Hope as you go to the Water World station. Oh, which you did. So you saw them.
those. Yes.
So out of those 16 admission booths that were new last season, 8 of them are express lines. So if you have a prepaid ticket, season pass, anything that you don't have to do any type of transaction, you go through, scan your ticket and get a wristband, and you're enjoying the park. So I think a lot of season passes, which I'm sure many of you are, really like that option where you just walk pretty much right into the park. Through a few owners and banks owned the park, eventually it became named Waldameer, and that's pretty much history right there. We are a cashless park, which is very unique. So after paying admission, which you can do with cash or credit card, you can't use cash inside the park. You can only use our Wally card, which is like our little debit card system. You pretty much recharge a card and use it throughout the park to pay for anything you want. You can also use credit card or debit card in the park as well. We have.
How is that? Since a lot of us are paying cash and all
Yeah.
that and so forth, how has that worked out? Is that more efficient?
Yeah.
Is it for the customer, or have you been getting complaints about why can't I pay cash?
Right. I mean, luckily, I think the world's moving that way. So not only here, but everywhere you can do anything with a little plastic. When we first installed it, it was kind of tough. A lot of the older generation and even some of the younger generation were confused as how to go about paying for things in our park. Then we store a lot of things. The walls are not usually up in the summer. For those of you who haven't been here, we put those up so the snow doesn't blow in. So this building houses like almost half the park, I would say, as far as attractions. So a fun fact is, since we have to insure every ride and attraction, this building, the Dodgem building, not only has to be insured for the Dodgem ride, but in the winter, we have a separate policy that is a lot more money because we store all these rides inside of it. So if this place, God forbid, ever burnt down, it'd be terrible because, like I said, almost half the park's stored in here. So you pass the spider cars on your right, Scrambler, Wipeout, Tilt-A-Whirl, We have our oldest ride operating still, which is about like 1950 BA Shift mechanical pony. We have our Skyfighter, Music Express, Wet Boats, Dodge 'em Cars, and our Mega Vortex. So like I said, that's pretty much at least a third of it. I mean, pretty close to half. And like I said, we store them all in here, and then as the maintenance crew works through their rides, they'll bring a couple cars down of each ride and bring it down to the maintenance shop and work on them and bring them back and pretty much swap them out with something they haven't done. But like I said, we got a lot done this summer, so a lot of these cars and pieces of ride look, pretty good. They might look dirty now, but I think they look pretty good for what C is the slowest. And anyways, so there's 3 different speeds, and based on the different program you run, the height changes and everything. So we chose A, which is the highest, and which makes it the most fun, but it also makes the height the tallest. But we feel that if you ran it slower and had younger kids ride it, I think it would lose a little bit of its appeal. So
Definitely.
we'll go through the hassle of trying to tell a parent that their kid's too small to ride and keep the ride cranked up to letter A. On our water park in 1986, we sold. We sold the original wooden carousel from 1902, and auctioned all the horses off and raised just over $1 million to start our water park, which in the long run
What a success
was
that
the choice. Yeah, was the choice.
You know where they
was the
went, or
choice.
where
They were auctioned off in New York, and like I said, they did it by horse, so they're all over the place. I know my grandfather does have 2 in his living room. He's a giraffe. He's a giraffe and a horse.
That's nice.
So at least we got a
Good,
little
you
part
got
of it.
some parts.
Just this past summer, if many of you know, we opened Mondays. We used to be closed Mondays.
That's true.
So we opened Mondays. That added like 10, 11 days to our season. And it worked out really well. We were scared because usually we don't feel like we have enough staff to work 7 days a week, being a smaller park. It worked out great. We all got our days off every once in a while. So I think that's like the first step in having a shoulder season. I know a lot of parks are having uber success with it, and I think it's just a matter of time before Waldameer dumps the bandwagon. We usually are a little bit late in grabbing trends just to make sure it works everywhere else. Yeah, so.
It's called our monkey house. It's where all the blowers, weed whackers, anything that we hire the summer crew to do, they do. Usually we store all our steel here. We fabricate all our own fences, queue lines, everything else on our steel gets stored there. Our wood shop, anything that can be fabricated here does. There's a lot of wood out back, which is a complete mess. Our fabrication department is here, and like I said, we do all our own fences. So all the Water World fence that you saw, every queue line fence that you saw was all done in here. Gates, anything. The big archway that you saw was done in here.
Nice. You guys did a good job on that.
Any idea how many people are employed in just
Just this, we have 8 ride mechanics, but we also have 8 ride inspectors. Because if you are a mechanic, you are also a ride inspector here. So we have 8 certified, actually we have 10, because Steve and Brian are state ride inspectors too. And I carry 2 other certs that certify me nationally. So those are separate from this place. Have it out, ship it out to be sandblasted, bring it back here, then the people will come here and test it. And yes, I'm a Batman fan. And other questions? Not that. These are just some of the parts that I'll use to put, this is the lead car on the blue train, the RF2. These are just some of the parts that we're gonna, it's about a quarter of the parts that we use. So we do everything upside down. And also what we do with all the grips that hold the Skyride cars, we take 10% of those a year, and that we do all 33 years. So we always take everything, we install new shafts and everything, so that ride can't afford to go down.
No, that's true.
Do you have someone specifically that orders parts, tracks down the parts for you?